It's not happening. Well, you heard the testimony. She said that woman couldn't walk. For 10 years, she had been telling that woman that she said the Lord is going to bless her for who knows how long. I don't remember. But you have to hold on to God's promises because you're next. You don't want to let go and then lose out. And even more so than that, you want to hold on because God has it designed for you. And it's designed in such a way that you can't take any glory, any credit. Nobody can. Only He can. And there is no greater blessing to me, in my opinion, than to be blessed by God in a way where people they don't understand it. They don't have a logical explanation for how this happened or what it is. Or let me share testimony from my own life. When it was time for me to graduate high school, I'd always wanted to go to college for me. And it just so happens that I'm the first in my family to pursue and complete a 4-year college education. Meaning that there was not a blueprint laid out for me. I didn't know what to do or how to do it. I just went to a really great high school with the best guidance counselor in the country. The man is the best, hands down. I don't care who your guidance counselor was. Mine was the best. Moving on. I was poor. I was smart, but I was poor. And I grew up in the projects. We did what we could with the money we had. By the time I reached high school, we were out of the projects, thank God. However, we still were making it paycheck to paycheck, and with the help of others at times. I had a part-time job. Now, as beautiful as that sounds that I had a part-time job, my money didn't go towards the house, and my mother was gracious enough to let me use it for school and other things. Anyway, back to the subject. I wanted to go to college. I had the grades to go and the desire, and I was basically ready. The only thing really in my way was money. So, long story short, by the grace of God, I got into a 4-year school in Ohio called the University of Dayton. The University of Dayton is an expensive private Catholic university, but I received scholarship upon scholarship upon scholarship upon grant, and a loan I don't remember applying for from the school right out the gate. Basically, my entire financial aid package from this school was my whole year covered, minus maybe 3 smaller scholarships that I got from different sources outside of the school. So my first year of college seemed like I was set. I could go. Not only could I go, I was going to be on campus, living that campus life. So off I went. It was fantastic. And after the first semester of working hard, playing hard, I got a bill. And you're a freshman. Remember, I don't have a blueprint for how this goes. I don't know any of the tricks of the trade. I don't really know the nature of college. I'm learning as I go. I got a bill from the school after the first semester, right at the end of it, stating that for the next semester, I needed to pay somewhat of a little more than $1,000, I believe it was. And I was confused because if I remembered my scholarships and my financial aid package and those scholarships outside of the school's financial aid, I thought I was good for the entire year. But what I didn't understand was 1 or 2 of those scholarships I received was for only that semester. They were not going to give me that money every semester. It was only a one-time thing, and they used it. It's done. And so I think it was just 1. Yes, it was. It was 1. And so I needed to come up with this money or I could not register for classes. Was not going to happen. They do not play at that university. So I remember sitting in the middle of my dorm room floor crying, feeling like, what was the point of me being here? I mean, I made it. I got through the door, but I'm nowhere near the degree. My grades were good, and I was a music major, and that is harder than it sounds. I got through that first semester coming behind the curve and really made a good splash academically. And it felt like it was all going to be in vain at this point. So after I got done crying, all I could do was pray. That's the only thing I could do. I told my mother, and I could pray. Now, I told you before, we didn't have any money. There's no college fund for me. It's not plausible. It's not doable. It's just not possible. Nothing could be done. But I think that first time my father was able to scrounge up some money at the last minute. I'm talking a few hours before they were going to close registration. I was able to give them that money. He was able to give it to me. I was grateful. I don't know where he got that money from, how he got it so fast, but I was grateful. And I know you're probably thinking, listener, like, okay, that's nice. You prayed and your daddy gave you the money. You just said your family had no money, but your daddy was able to get the money. I know that don't sound that big, but just wait. First year is done. Now that I understand financial aid a little more, I now see that some of the scholarships I got for the first year do not cover any more years. So I already got a taste first semester. I was done with one scholarship. Now I think I had about 2 more that were not going to cover my educational expenses at this school. And every year, the tuition goes up. I was okay in a sense because one of the scholarships they gave me would go with whatever the increase in tuition was. So I was okay in a sense as far as ratio goes, but I still was now in the hole a little more than $2,000, closer to $3,000, with no resource whatsoever to cover that. So here I am, almost the middle of the first semester of my second year of college, with an even bigger debt. There was no way my father was going to be able to come up with twice as much money in that fashion because money was tight where he was as well. God did not decide to use my father as the resource to help me out of this jam or to help me with my educational expenses. It was completely dark and bleak, and this time I knew more than a week beforehand. I think most of the semester that I needed this money. It needs to come from somewhere. I don't know where it was going to come. Yes, I was looking for scholarships, but it just wasn't panning out. And my second year was really heavy and hectic academically. So there was a whole lot going on. Long story short, I think the week before I needed to start registration for classes, a scholarship popped up in my account. I hadn't applied to this scholarship. I didn't know who the source of this scholarship was. And when I found out what the scholarship was, I discovered that there was one line of qualification that, if I understood correctly, I did not qualify for this scholarship, but yet I got it. I got a 26 or 700. It's been so long, listener. More than enough. I got exactly what I needed from a scholarship that, bottom line, when I looked at it, I didn't even qualify for. And on top of that, I did not apply for it. I didn't even know where it came from, but it was sitting right there in my account. My registration was wide open, and I was good for the remainder of my second year, again covered. So the first year, my father came through with the money. The second year, it was like manna from heaven. A scholarship dropped into my financial aid package. Now, I looked over and looked over and looked over, and I'm like, there is no way this particular scholarship, I should have it. But God told me to keep my mouth shut, let it be, and continue on. That's why I won't mention the name of the scholarship, because in case anybody, I'm paying it back. That was a gift from the Lord. I tried to rationalize it, but I tell you, it could only be God. And if that wasn't enough, the third year, I got a 2200 scholarship that I didn't apply for, but I do know where it came from. The Office for Minority Students had recommended me, and I got a Martin Luther King scholarship the third year without my knowledge. Again, I was set. Now, after 2 years of praying, worrying, fasting, and really just, oh my gosh, I'm out of school, by the time the third year deficit came, I was relaxed. I knew what God could do. So when the money came, I knew he was going to do it. I just didn't know how. Every time, in his own way, God gave me my miracle, my breakthrough, to give me the desires of my heart. And I didn't tell you about the fourth year. The fourth year, I got the field scholarship. These random donors I'd never met. And I don't even know what the qualifications for. All I know is I received them. And I knew I was supposed to have it this time because there was a banquet for the recipients of different scholarships from different donors. And when I went to my table, there was no representatives from the people who had the field scholarship. So in my mind, I believe the fields don't exist. And that was God created another scholarship for me. That's how I know it was him. Now, people could say, well, is this name and that name and this name, and that could very well be true. They did not show up that day. And they didn't show up on purpose, because that was God's way of letting me know, daughter, I got you. He got you, listener. I took the long way through because, again, where I went to school, extremely expensive. I didn't have a net. I didn't have a background. I had no backup savings. There was no college fund in any shape, size, form, anywhere. When the loan needed to increase a little, he allowed it to, just enough. But there's only so much a person with no credit can get. And for the rest, God made miraculous moves to let me know he had me. There is no explanation that can be given for how these scholarships randomly popped up right on time, just for me. He got you. You are next in line for your miracle. You know what you have to do? The same thing I had to do. You got to trust him, dig down, bear down, believe he's going to come through. Most of the time, he's not going to tell you how or when. You just got to trust that he going to come when he come, and he always on time. And there will be no doubt in your mind that he did it. And what I love is he'll show others that it was him. Every scholarship, I got a little more exposure, which I could never take credit for because I knew it was God. And so God got glory every time. Hold on there, listener. You are next in line for your miracle. Don't give up. We've reached the end of our podcast. I thank you so much for listening. Let's go straight to our last sponsor and close it out. Shout out to all my true divas out there. You are clearly Proverbs 31 women. Tru Talent Productions has a free app available right now in the Google Play Store for Android and coming soon to Apple in the Apple Store. It is the app for the Proverbs 31 woman, a place of encouragement,